almost touched. There's three truck battle for the lead as they come up on a couple lap trucks.
Luis is definitely not going to let him in. He'll second. He's going to take him 3 wide down to the line.
DeRuis tries to go block.
DeRuis flips. And here comes Chris Smith off turn number 4. Wesley Pistol might have a shot at the win here. Here they come to the line.
Oh, he gets the back.
And Pistol.
Bounce back on the back bumper of James Ray there. Desperate for a win. Desperate to get back into the championship.
Oh, he gives him the bumper.
Evan Bianca's going to come through to win it. Coots hanging tough. Oh, Jones is loose. He's going to drive up into him. Can Coots hang on to it off the corner? Coots gets it. If it's Tuesday, that means Apex Energy Series Racing from the Slingshot Racing League. Welcome, race fans. I'm Ellis Thomas, joined in the booth tonight by Chris Smith. We're bringing you live racing action in the Xfinity B-Class cars from Richmond Raceway for the Apex Energy 150. Richmond Raceway, a racing haven since 1946, has a rich history rooted in the post-World War II era. Starting as a half-mile dirt track, it's transformed into a thrilling 3/4-mile oval, earning the titles of both America's longest short track and its shortest superspeedway. Technically true, or technically not true, I should say. Virginia's racing tradition dates back to colonial English times, with the Deep Run Hunt Club hosting horse races. In 1946, the AAA Champ Car season kick-started at the newly built Strawberry Hill Raceway. And over the years, Richmond became a vital part of NASCAR, evolving from dirt to pavement in 1968 and redesigning into its iconic D-shaped configuration in 1988. In 1999, a pivotal change occurred when the venue was rebranded from the Richmond Fairgrounds to the Richmond International Raceway. Today, it hosts a modern $30 million infield and 55,000 seats. Richmond is a rocket-fast challenge to every driver who competes on the 3/4-mile oval. Racers from NASCAR, IndyCar, USAC, and other series have found that Richmond requires both power and handling. To win here, you gotta have it all. Chris, fun fact for the night. In the inaugural NASCAR race here at Richmond Raceway, Richard Petty won by lapping the entire field. While I don't think we're going to see that kind of dominance tonight, what are drivers going to have to do to stay out of trouble and carry that same kind of speed along with the precision that Petty had back in 1953?
Well, this is a short track with some big track speed, as you mentioned, Ellis. 3/4 mile, very unique track. Not many short tracks in the world that are as big as this one is. This is going to be a really difficult race tonight. It's going to be tough to pass. We're going to talk about that when we get to our key stories before the race starts. But looking at 150 laps around this track tonight, got a lot of cars here, almost 30 cars, and about 115 laps on a tank of fuel. So I don't think that we'll see drivers go that far on fuel, because I think that we'll probably see enough cautions tonight for them to be able to make some pit stops. Lap 67 is the stage mark, so with a tight points battle that we've got, you know that these drivers are going to have that lap number in mind tonight as they try to maximize all the stage points they possibly can.
Absolutely. You talked about that tight points battle. That's going to be one of the stories that we talk about when we come back from a Slingshot Racing pre-race tradition. Everyone rise and remove your caps for the national anthem. All right, Slingshot Racing League and the Apex Energy back here at Richmond Raceway. Going to do a couple of stories to set up the race tonight. The biggest one, Chris, being the point standings. Last week, we had a big shakeup, and for the first time this season, Justin Wilson is officially the point series leader. 2 races left. It is as tight as ever. Jacob Bradley just 11 points back. Rye Jones 82 points back from that. We've got a pretty tight battle going on, 4th through about 6th or 7th, but it's really those top 2 spots, Chris, that are all the talk and rage of the league right now. Who's going to win it between these Payday Racing teammates? Who do you think's got the upper hand? I hate to make you choose a side, but what do you think?
Well, I think, here these past couple weeks, it's been Justin Wilson, making up that ground. But I think that Jacob Bradley can return to that form that he had for the first, half of the season. It's been a tale of 2 different seasons, I feel like. First half of the season was all Jacob Bradley. I felt like he really had the field's number. I feel like Justin Wilson has clawed back here and, returned to his form here these last couple weeks. It's going to be close. It's definitely not over.
Absolutely. Definitely not over. 2 races left to decide it. And both of these drivers, pretty fast speeds so far. And we've seen both of them have some fast speeds this season at the short tracks in the Apex Energy Series. So that's your lead story. But we've got a few others that we're going to be talking about tonight, Chris. We've been watching practice, and we've even seen drivers like Jacob Bradley and Justin Wilson trying to push it to the limit tonight. These drivers are going to be slip sliding around. It's going to be tough to pass, but with that level of difficulty in passing, drivers might be willing to make some moves they wouldn't normally do. So, first of all, you got to pass when you can. How are story number 2 and 3 kind of connected? Pass when you can, and cautions breed cautions, Chris.
Well, sometimes at this track it can be very frustrating because you can be faster than a guy, but since it is so difficult to pass, and since the groove is as small as it is, you really got to hit your marks perfectly every single corner. It can just be hard to get the run to get around that guy, and so sometimes you can see some impatience here, and that just breeds, a caution coming out on a short track just breeds more and more caution. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe we get into a pattern of that tonight if our patience runs out on the track.
Absolutely. We've been lucky this season with just probably on average about 3 cautions per race. Obviously, we opened up lap 1 last week with a caution, but fortunately got things under control pretty quickly at Nashville Super Speedway. Hopefully, we can do the same tonight, but you mentioned it is a different racetrack out there. We mentioned tempers. If we do have those wrecks, expect tempers to be something that drivers are going to have to manage, keeping those emotions in check if you're going to make it through the race without any more difficulty if things don't go your way early tonight. And last thing, Chris, still teammates. Jacob Bradley, Justin Wilson are teammates. Do they treat each other like teammates for these final 2 races of the season, considering how close this championship race is?
I think we've seen enough from those guys, for, several slingshot seasons to know that, they're not going to do anything to jeopardize each other on track. They're not going to do anything to, purposely go out there and do anything to, ruin their days. But I think they're going to race each other hard. I think that at this point in the season, they've got to do it. They got to go out there and try to get everything they can.
And speaking of getting everything you can, Justin Wilson got everything he could out of his qualifying lap. Let's go ahead and set the stage and grid for tonight's Apex Energy 150 here at Richmond. Your Evan Pienta Designs Pole Award winner, and he's got a handful this season. The guy who has the most pole awards at the end of the season is going to get a free paint scheme in consultation from Evan Pienta. Justin Wilson, your points leader, is your pole sitter tonight with a blistering 22.09 a lap. Scotty Sobzak also a heater on his outside in that Pine Mountain Auto Supply car. On the inside of row 2, though, it's Jacob Bradley in that Lowe's number 60 for Payday Racing. He's starting 3rd. He's going to look to move through the field quickly tonight. This guy starting 4th, Chris Pierce. Chris, he's had a lot of speed in recent weeks. We saw him make a mistake last week at Nashville on the opening lap, but he has been solid, generally speaking. Other than that, we'll look to have him pretty near the front tonight. He's got a 10th place average finish on the short tracks this season. 5th is Johnny Rapp. 6th is Randy Bechtel looking for his first win of the season. Nick Lucci, slingshot newcomer, average finish a 2nd over the course of the last 2 races, starting 7th. Rye Jones on the outside of row number 4 in 8th position. Patrick Colby going to be starting 9th. Jeremy Gardner won a couple of weeks ago, is starting in the 10th position. Scott Tompkins, who was the victim of that early mistake by Chris Pierce last week, starting 11th here this week. Evan Pienta going to be starting 12th. Ryan Hinkle, coming off a career best 6th place finish a couple weeks ago, going to be starting in the 13th position tonight. Wesley Pistol starting on the outside of row number 7 in that orange and white Tennessee Volunteers car. Patrick Piper in that number 38 car, continuing to get faster and faster this season, going to be starting 15th. Sean Johnson to his outside in the 16th position. Daniel Rowe is 17th. Lee Campbell 18th. Chase Berry 19th, and Braxton DeWee starting in the number 8 on the outside of row 10 in 20th. The rest of those starters are going to scroll across the bottom of your screen. Drivers headed down into turn number 3 here at Richmond. Pace car getting ready to peel off. It's going to be Justin Wilson and Scotty Sobczak waiting on the flagman to wave the green. There it is. Wilson leads them to the line. We're underway here at Richmond for the Apex Energy Series. Justin Wilson leads them down into 1. Right now, the battle's for 2nd. Jacob Bradley and Scotty Sobczak to his outside. Russell through turn number 2, down the backstretch, headed back into turn 3. Johnny Rapp working on the inside of that Apex Energy machine of Chris Pierce on the outside line right now. Nick Lucci all by himself back in the 6th position.
Oh, Tompkins
Brady
loose.
Bechtel really loose. Scott Tompkins loose at the line. See if he's able to corral it down into turn 1. Everyone looks like they've hung on to their stuff. Right now, I see 3 wide. Lee Campbell in another car back there. It is wild racing as far back as the 9th or 10th position. Evan Pienta right now in the 10th position, working his way underneath Jeremy Gardner. I think it was Ryan Hinkle who was up on that outside. He was in a little bit of trouble early, Chris. Right now, Justin Wilson leading the way. Chris Pierce sliding back a couple of spots now from 4th now back to 6th position as Lucci works his way by into the 5th position. About a car length separating the leaders right now. Justin Wilson leads Jacob Bradley and Scotty Sobczak. Bradley has worked his way into the 2nd position there just a lap or so ago up front. Lucci now creeping into the mirror view of Johnny Rapp in that black and orange Mission Barbecue car. Right now, we might have a battle for the lead headed down into turn 3 if Justin Wilson gives Jacob Bradley a little room. He's going to think better of it as they cross the start-finish line here on lap number 4, now 5 for the Apex Energy 150.
Looking back here at Jacob Bradley and see that he really wants to get after his teammate Justin Wilson right here. See how he closes up on him right in the center of the corner right there. That's a driver who has a really good handle on this car and this track here tonight as he's able to rotate the center of the corner well. That's what we're going to be talking about all night tonight. The driver who can keep their car rotating through the center of the corner without getting loose on corner exit, that's the driver who's probably going to be in really good shape tonight. You see Jacob taking a little bit of a later apex. That's an option that you have here, and that might be able to get you a better run down the straightaway to, just make that straightaway longer and try to, stretch that engine out.
Absolutely. Jacob Bradley looking to get as much horsepower out of that car as possible, Chris. And as we predicted, cars are kind of stretched out here a little bit, mostly single file, but you mentioned Jacob Bradley rotating good through the corner. We're going to have a battle for the lead. Maybe thinks better of it, headed down into turn 3, but that's going to push him back into the clutches of that number 81 machine of Scotty Sobczak, who's looking to get back up to the 2nd position, Chris. But you mentioned it. Jacob Bradley is really got the edge right now as center of the corner out. Working on Justin Wilson. It is a tight battle. It is hard to pass here. You see Justin Wilson making that outside line work down the backstretch. He's going to clear Bradley, who we thought might have the upper hand in that battle for just a moment. Bradley's going to have to wait at least another lap if he's going to get up to the lead. Every single lap led matters here, Chris, because the most laps led is a bonus point. Bradley wants the bonus point for leading the lap, but he also wants to lead the most. Right now, working on the inside, battle for the lead. Headed down the backstretch. Looks like Wilson's going to hold him off at least for another corner, but can he push Bradley down to the apron here?
Almost
Bradley
contact.
might lead this lap. That was very nearly contact. It looks like Bradley might have the position to make that pass. He does. Justin Wilson creeps right back up to the back bumper. Is he going to try the crossover here down into turn 3? Payday Racing teammates going side by side, but I think Bradley's going to, maybe, I thought he might have the exit speed, but Justin Wilson's going to be able to hang on that left rear quarter panel of Jacob Bradley. Chris, is there any advantage to staying side by side like that?
no advantage to him. But I think that what we're seeing here is we're seeing a couple teammates that are racing each other super clean at this juncture of the race, but they're racing really hard. You know, in past races at the beginning of the season, you know, you might have seen Justin Wilson. You know, he might have just, when Jacob Bradley passed him, you know, just been like, all right, I'm just going to ride here in line. But now he's racing him hard because it's time to just let it all hang out. We're only one more race after this one to decide this championship.
Absolutely. Battle going on back for the 8th position between Rye Jones and Patrick Colby. It looks like Rye Jones is going to get the better of that, but Patrick Colby in that Alabama Crimson Tide car is going to try to hang to his outside, but he's going to have to give up that 8th position to Rye Jones. And he's got Jeremy Gardner right behind him looking to go for the 8th position as soon as, or 9th position rather, as Patrick Colby loses it.
Yeah, he tagged
Johnny
the wall.
Rapp losing it. Yeah.
A little
Who
bit
tagged
right there
the wall?
I think that Patrick Colby tagged the wall a little bit off turn 2, but we saw somebody also in front of him tag it too. So that's something that you're going to see all night here. Both ends of the track are really different on corner exit. Turn 2, it really tightens up on corner exit because you got a straight straightaway, whereas on the front stretch, the wall is kind of, you know, it's more arching. It goes out a little bit more, and so you'll see the drivers sort of carry their momentum out here towards that curved wall on the front stretch. So different mentalities for how you exit both of the corners, turns 2 and turn 4.
Yeah, it is a different track. We mentioned in the pre-race how difficult it is. You've got to have the speed and the precision. One driver I'm looking at right now, Chris, we saw this similar strategy last week in Nashville, all the way back in the 21st position, James Danforth. He started 25th. He's up 4 positions, but he's doing it on the outside. What's the danger as we watch Danforth try to work on the outside of Lee Campbell for that 20th position? What's James Danforth doing with those tires right now in that 88 early on in this run on lap number 16?
Well, what we're seeing, you know, we got some corner analysis right here, thanks to Pierce Graphics, and it looks like he is on corner entry. He's just charging the corner a lot harder than what Lee Campbell is, and part of the reason why he's doing that is because he is on that top lane. Being on that top lane right there, he can afford to do that. He can afford to charge the corner a little bit because he's got more racetrack to, you know, to catch the car in case he needs to. Whereas Lee Campbell, who was on the inside before, Lee had to make sure that he did not, you know, push up into James Danforth on his outside. So just seeing a different mentality right there as those guys are side by side. We're seeing right now compared to Chase Berry up ahead, and the reason why the difference right there on corner entry speed is what it is because Chase Berry is side by side with Daniel Rowe.
Got a little row going there for the 18th position between Dan Rowe and Chase Berry. That's my vocabulary skills there. Berry in that green and black machine, while Dan Rowe on that black and white machine on the outside. This one's been going on for a couple laps. Dan Rowe hanging tough on the outside of that number 17. He is not letting Chase Berry go. We mentioned this is a battle for the 18th position. Chase Berry's got that inside line. You see, he might clear him. That's dangerous, though, if Berry's going to try to walk it up the track in front of Rowe. He thinks better of it as they cross the line now on lap number 20 of 150. Chase Berry up the track just a little bit, almost a little bit of contact there between the number 17 and 68 of Dan Rowe. This battle going on in front of James Danforth right behind them. How long, if you're Dan Rowe, do you try to hang on in this battle?
Probably not very long, as I thought that we had a pit stop here. Patrick Piper, sorry to just completely go off topic right here, but I'm not sure what happened to Patrick. Let's see if we can go back and we can see. He had a slow spin right here in the middle of turns 3 and 4.
Lucky
some contact.
Caution did not come out there.
Some contact between he and Evan Pienta. We'll actually ride on board with Evan here to see what transpired between the two of them. And that's just a difference in corner entry speed right there. Evan was on the brakes a little bit sooner than what Patrick was expecting, and Patrick decided that he was just going to make that pit stop.
Yeah, hey, you know what? We're on lap 20. Could have made it a lot longer, but fresh tires definitely not going to hurt that 38. Did he roll it through pit road?
Not sure if he did or not.
I saw him pretty slow on pit road. Let's see. I don't know if the pit stop I see that he has not pit once. He spent 24 seconds on pit lane, so yeah. I think the answer to that question is no. He elected not to get tires, just roll through. He got some great racing going out on track right now. And hey, I wanted to mention a couple of people in the chat. We got the Kyle Dewey fan club on Twitch right now. I do have a question for them. I'm not sure what Spreadsheet Crew mentioned. So the Kyle Dewey fan club over on Twitch, let us know what that Spreadsheet Crew emoji is all about. Let us in on that joke. Meanwhile, in the YouTube chat, just shouting out to Dawn Hilbrun's in here. She's a regular fan. We appreciate her. Dennis DeWeese, as well as Chris DeWeese and Allen's Art Images. I know Braxton DeWeese in the field again tonight. I believe this is his third start of the season in that number 8. And an update on him, Chris, he started 20th. He's up to 12th position. He has gained 8 positions, and he is running some of the fastest times on track. In fact, Chris, I'm looking at his lap times. He's got the fastest lap over the course of the evening. So, actually, I take that back. He ran the fastest lap that time by. But yeah, great view we've got going on right now with this battle forecast, just to show how quickly the driver, that number 8, Braxton DeWeese, is catching Evan Pienta. We're going to keep a look on the overtake projection, these analytics provided by Chris Pierce and Pierce Graphics. He always does some pretty cool stuff with our broadcast package. So
about 3/10 quicker that time.
Yeah, he's fast. I know the Braxton DeWeese fans going to be happy to hear that. We got some Kyle Dewey fans in the YouTube chat. The Raps are here in full force. John and Brittany, she says, don't forget me. I'm here as well. Nick Lucci fan in the chat as well. We got a lot of people. Shout out your driver, who you're rooting for. We'll try to hit everyone, not physically, but cover everyone over the course of the next several laps. Check in on some folks. How about we do a check-in on Johnny Rapp? Chris, I believe he is up. He started 5th, but he's hung tight in that 5th position. I know he's got Chris Pierce and Randy Bechtel, and here we go, commentators first. As soon as I say it, Chris Pierce going to take a look underneath Johnny Rapp. We're on lap number nearly 30 right now, 29 as the drivers head down the backstretch. Chris, I can't think of a more iconic paint scheme in slingshot racing than that Mission Barbecue black and orange car. I think it's a fan favorite every single season. And just some information on Johnny Rapp. He's a good little short track racer. 7th place average on short tracks in his slingshot racing career. So Johnny Rapp definitely proving his mettle as he works on the outside of Chris Pierce and Randy Bechtel, trying to hold up these drivers as much as possible.
Yeah, not surprised at all to hear
really
that statistic.
Off the corner.
Yeah, not surprised at all to hear that statistic at all about Johnny Rapp. Spent a lot of time racing against him on short tracks in the Truck Series and in the 87s, and he gets around them really, really well. And I wouldn't be surprised at all. I know he just fell back a few spots there. I think it's because he was not interested in contesting that spot. Once he got hung up on the outside, he just fell to the back of this line right here to try to save his tires as best he can.
Yeah, that is classic Johnny. That is just what he does. He's a Truck Series champion. I know he's going to be looking forward to getting back in those trucks next season, Chris, starting January 9th. We're headed back to the Truck Series in the spring, so just about a month away, we're going to be racing a new series in a new car, and it's going to be same night and time. I know those drivers are excited about that. Johnny's going to be excited to get back in that truck he last won a championship in. So thanks to all the Johnny Rapp fans for tuning in tonight. Looking around the track for the best battles right now. Try to bring you the closest action. Jeremy Gardner and Patrick Colby got a good little fray going on in front of him. Yeah, everything kind of straightened out right now. I'm trying to look around and find where we can focus the cameras, but go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, this is the part of the run right here where things are just super frustrating because it's hard to, at this track, to be able to generate the momentum that you need in order to make a run to pass somebody. Especially when you got as good a drivers as what we have in this league and here in Slingshot Racing League. Everybody hits their marks pretty good, most all the way around the track. And, when the drivers are hitting their marks around here, even if they're a little bit slower, it's hard to pass them just because of the geometry of the track.
It really is. It has proven very difficult to get by, and sometimes drivers have to resort to using the bumper a little bit. It's why we've seen so many classic NASCAR moments. at Richmond Raceway in the past, whether it's drivers throwing helmets, gloves, maybe even some hand gestures out the window. Right now, good little battle going on in the 17th position between Ryan Hinkle, Chase Berry, and James. Actually, that is Ryan Hinkle, Chase Berry, and I'm trying to figure out. Oh, that's Patrick Piper. That's why he's not showing up. He's a lap down after that spin about 10 laps ago. As soon as we put the camera on him, though, it's like they know it, they sense it, and they just kind of spread out a little bit.
One thing I'm seeing, though,
further back. Go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. One thing we're seeing, though, down in turns 1 and 2 especially, don't see it as much down here in 3 and 4. It's more single groove down there, but starting to see it open up a little bit down in turns 1 and 2, and I think that's because drivers are starting to get a little bit tight, and they want to try to use that sort of upper lane, that second lane, in order to maybe get a run down off the corner. Of course, I say it this time, everybody runs to the bottom, but yeah, I think they're trying
listening,
to.
Man. They're
yeah,
listening.
they're listening to. They're trying to prove me wrong, but I think they're trying to do that in order to get that run down off the corner onto the straightaway. Now, you do burn a little bit of tire doing that, so you got to be careful not to, mash the throttle if you were to, try to run that line. But I noticed it when we were looking at the digger cam earlier. I was like, wow, these guys are, they're up the track a little bit down here on this end.
Yeah, they are definitely moving their lanes around here. Lap number 30, now 40 of 150, your top 5 at the moment. Jacob Bradley continues to lead, but that battle has tightened up just a little bit with Justin Wilson keeping in contact just about 4 car lengths back. He's got Scotty Sobczak and Nick Lucci. I know we've got some Lucci fans in the chat right now. He is running in the 4th position. Chris Pierce a little bit further back, about 15, 20 car lengths behind them, but the best battle for the top 4 is pretty tight right now. Speaking of Lucci, this is his 4th race in Slingshot Racing, currently running 4th, but he's put on a good show the past 3 weeks with an average finish of 2nd place. I feel like a win is right around the corner for Nick Lucci at some point, Chris, given the speed that we've seen out of the driver, that number 96, in just a handful of races.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him pick up a win here in these next 2 races. I mean, just 2 races into his Slingshot career, and he's been super impressive. Not only impressed with his speed, but also with his racecraft. He hasn't made many mistakes out on the track at all. I remember at Indy, he fell back a few spots at the beginning of the race, and it wasn't because of a lack of speed. It was just because he was racing everybody so respectfully, and, you love to see that. I think that I'm really, really glad that he has sort of found a place here in Slingshot, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him pick up a victory tonight or next week at Homestead.
Absolutely. Play his cards right. Keep that nose clean, and you never know what's going to happen. Speaking of drivers who have found their home in Slingshot Racing in recent weeks and haven't run as much with us in the past, Braxton DeWeese in his 3rd race this season, moving up to the 10th position in that number 8 car. Braxton, a former Slingshot Racing champion in the 87 Throwback Series last summer. He has proven how he won that championship. That black, and I guess it's almost a solid black car with that white stripe down the bottom. Good-looking number 8 Ford, Interstate Ford car. Good-looking Ford Mustang right there, Chris.
Yeah, it is, and he's really rolling the center of the corner really well. We'll see if we could actually take a look at the battle forecast again right here. That rapid pace that he had before, that lap, it looks like it was a little bit closer with Jeremy Gardner. But he has... 3 wide.
Sorry to interrupt. Almost an incident on the front straight as some of the leaders worked their way by a lap car. Evan Pienta, Scott Tompkins, and Wesley Pistol. Sorry about that, Chris.
Oh, that's okay, yeah. This is a tight battle. Oh, Evan Pienta loose off of turn 2. Almost some contact right there. Those drivers do a nice job.
3 wide down into the corner. Scott Tompkins going to take it 3 wide on Evan Pienta and Wesley Pistol. Chris, this might not work out. If drivers can hang on to it, we might get lucky here. I think we avoided calamity off that corner. Scott Tompkins is racing it hard down into 1, Chris. He is pushing that 25 car to the limits, that Pawlowski Machines number 25, that is, as he works on the back bumper of Wesley Pistol. He saw those positions, and that speaks to just how difficult it is to pass.
Yeah, we saw Evan Pienta tag the apron right there in turns 3 and 4. Some short tracks, that's a good move. You want to do that. I don't think you want to be doing that here down, especially down in 3 and 4. The transition's just a little bit too abrupt, and we saw how loose it got that number 55 Evan Pienta Designs Ford. He's a little bit higher right here on corner entry. He's probably just trying to catch his breath after those really tense moments.
Yeah, I think we all had to catch our breath after those tense moments. Meanwhile, just to follow up on that battle we were talking about, you mentioned it, Braxton DeWeese was able to get by Jeremy Gardner while we hit up that crazy action on just a couple of laps ago. He's moved up to the 9th position. Hey, got some other fans in the chat asking about Nick DeCesare. I know we've got some Very Racing Motorsports fans. Nick DeCesare running in the 21st position right now, running his own race in that T-Swift 00. He started 27th. He's up to 21st, so he's got some speed going tonight as he's methodically working his way through the field. I think it was a bit of a cruel summer for Nick in those late models, but he's glad to be back in the Xfinity Series. I tried to make a Taylor Swift pun there. I don't know. Probably went over a lot of people's heads.
Hey, it's okay. We'll make it.
Yeah, it'll work. It'll work. Well, come on. I need to write a whole list of them. I've missed out. Why did I not think of that until now this season? Watching that battle forecast on Nick DeCesare and Lee Campbell. Last lap, DeCesare was about half a tenth faster, and they are, you saw, running a similar pace right now. So it might be a few laps before DeCesare is able to track down Lee Campbell for that top 20 position. And
he's got a ways to go. Got a ways to go together. About 3 seconds.
Definitely got a ways to go, but he's going to do it. So those fans watching the chat, Nick DeCesare and Matt Kuntz, are doing just fine. Kuntz a little bit further back in 24th position. He's had a pretty calm race. That's where he has started, back there working with Patrick O'Toole and Kyle Dewey for 22nd and 23rd. So
battle for 9th right here. I'm sorry, 8th with Braxton DeWeese and Patrick Colby. DeWeese just continues his march up through the field.
Yeah, just looking at lap times, that very last lap, Chris, he was not far off from Justin Wilson as well as Jacob Bradley's pace. So Braxton DeWeese right now, that 8, running lap times, one of the fastest cars on the track, nearly identical lap times to the leader. So Bradley and Wilson, they're not going to be alone tonight. Scotty Sobczak and Nick Lucci right there as well. But, hey, if they're not careful, Braxton DeWeese going to get into the fray here momentarily. And, hey, moving back up to that story on the spreadsheet crew, apparently all these Kyle Dewey fans are working on spreadsheets, late night crunch sessions on the... I do have a question. Are y'all using Microsoft Excel, or have you moved into the 21st century with Google Sheets? Let us know in the chat if you're the Kyle Dewey crew. Chris, what do you prefer, Excel or Sheets?
Well, just, because I use... At my work, where I work at, we use Sheets for most... Oh, some contact between Kyle Dewey and Patrick O'Toole. That was almost disastrous, but they work it out right there as Kyle Dewey right here battling with Patrick O'Toole for the 22nd position. I say I'm more of a Sheets guy personally.
Good job, tech-savvy teacher there. I like it. Patrick O'Toole, Kyle Dewey, more contact there as they head down the backstretch. I think Kyle Dewey got into the wall off of turn 2, Chris, and I thought we were going to have a third race in a row where Patrick O'Toole found some trouble before the checkered flag. I know he's had a string of bad luck in that number 44 car, but man, that's a good-looking paint scheme, that number 44 Terry Labonte car, as he works his way. Matt Kuntz really had to hit the brakes there, I think, as that number 44 worked his way down the track. He is loose right now.
Yeah, he's having a hard time keeping it straight on corner exit there, and Kyle Dewey generating a run there.
Yeah, starting to see that from a lot of cars getting loose off the corner exit. Kyle Dewey able to work his way back underneath the 44. Good little scrum going here on lap number 59 of 150 in the Apex Energy 150 from Slingshot Racing League as the 44 and the 33. I know we got some Dewey fans. Oh, Dewey up the track. This is a great little battle. O'Toole's going to work his way back underneath. That's going to leave room for Kuntz in the number 13 to also try to capitalize on the Kyle Dewey mistake. He's too busy thinking about spreadsheets, Chris.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, we're keeping the camera here because I just know at some point they're going to find a way to crash. That's the way it's been looking here these last few laps. But
this is all going on in front of the leader. It's all going on in front of Jacob Bradley and Justin Wilson, Chris, as they work their way through the field here, putting these cars a lap down. If you're Jacob Bradley, are you getting nervous?
Absolutely. If I'm looking at what's going on, and Jacob's had a long time to think about it because he's been watching these guys as he catches them, and he's like, oh my gosh, please just keep it together before, as long as I can get past you here. As You know, these guys are in the midst of their own battle. You know, Matt Kuntz, Kyle Dewey, Patrick O'Toole, they're all battling for their own positions here. And, you know, they're not just going to lay over and let the leader go by. They're going to respect the leader, but they're not going to lay over and just let him pass.
No, they are not. They are racing amongst themselves, and this has allowed Justin Wilson back there. He's closed up to about 2 or 3 car lengths. He's got to get by Dewey right now as the number 60 of Bradley works underneath Kuntz. This is once again a battle for the lead. We've seen it close in about 3 or 4 car lengths over the past lap or so as Jacob Bradley has one more car in this pack to get by Patrick O'Toole. He's been the fastest car in that pack, arguably, despite a couple of loose off exits. He works underneath the number silver number 44, and it looks like Bradley's going to clear as soon as Justin Wilson attempts to clear Matt Kuntz in the number 13. He's also going to try to get the 2-for-1 special here in turn 3 and 4. Justin Wilson going to try to clear Patrick O'Toole. He does. He's got about 4 car lengths behind or in front of him. Up to Jacob Bradley. I'm curious if we can do an on-board with Justin Wilson right now just to watch that battle forecast and see how quickly he might be able to gain or if he's going to lose a little bit of time here on Jacob Bradley.
Well, it might not be very accurate this time because they've been in some lap traffic, but we'll see right here at the line right here how they compare with each other. And that time, yes, Jacob Bradley got some clear track. I think Justin might have still been battling with them. We see he opened it up about 2/10 on him right here. See if we get a gauge this lap right here. They both have been in clean traffic this lap. Coming off of turn 4 right here. Both these drivers right here, they still can go a long ways on fuel as we're coming up to the stage mark here. About 2/10. No, it's actually, yeah, about 2/10 that time too. Actually, no, it's just half a tenth.
Yeah,
it just took a minute to update.
Absolutely. We're getting close to the stage mark here. They're going to be awarded here in about a lap and a half at the end of lap number 67. Bradley's got a couple of more cars to work his way by before he's clear of lap traffic for a while. That's Paul Thomas in the number 40, currently running in the 29th position. Justin Wilson going to try to work his way by as well. Coming up here on stage points being awarded, Chris, and this is big for Jacob Bradley because even though Justin Wilson is second, that's about a 3-point gain, a 3-point net positive for Jacob Bradley, who's, Chris, also led a lot of laps tonight. So we're looking at potentially a 4-point swing when it comes to bonus points and stage points. That puts him within 7 points of Justin Wilson. And if the race were to finish as it is now, I should put it within 3 or 4, given those extra points for winning the race, Chris. But back there a little bit further, I want to go back here and look at Scotty Sobczak and all the traffic behind him. Nick Lucci, Patrick O'Toole, we've got Kyle Dewey, Chris Pierce as well. And this is a mix of lead lap and lap down cars, and this is the most energetic place on the track right now, and it is the most likely place where if we're going to see trouble, we might see it here with cars of varying degrees of speed racing around each other simultaneously. Oh, Tony Caputo almost in the back of the number 13 of Matt Kuntz. Both of those drivers are going to go up the track in turn number 3. They'll both recover onto the front stretch, but now, man, these drivers are getting after it, Chris. You mentioned as the laps wind down, we're almost about halfway through the Apex Energy Series, Apex Energy 150 for Slingshot Racing League. Chris, man. This is Braxton DeWeese was trying to make it 3 wide down the backstretch there. He's arguably the fastest car on track, and he's not checking up for anybody, but I'm glad he did right there because we would have had a big crash if he didn't. He's really held up behind these guys. He had gained a lot of ground on the pack through this lap traffic, but here this past couple laps, he's lost it all right back to him because these lap cars are side by side in front of him. Yeah, you've got Chris Blassie and James Ledford. The 15 and the 48 are just racing each other, and they have the right to do that, right?
They do.
Braxton DeWeese is back in 7th position. These guys are racing within the top 20, top 22 or so. So certainly have a right to be there on the track. They're showing respect to Braxton DeWeese. Ultimately, they both separate. They let the number 8 car by. But you're right. That cost Braxton DeWeese probably at least a second or more on Randy Bechtel. That stretch of about 2 or 3 laps where he could not get by what probably to him felt like a wall of cars a lap down. Watching another car, looks like we've got our first takers on pit road, Chris. Evan Pienta and Johnny Rapp in the 52 both come to the attention of their crews. Looks to me like they might be making this a one-stop race and splitting it in 2 if my brains are to be believed, and that is not always the case.
Well,
but we watch the guys roll off together.
Yeah, you have to make a pit stop at some point during this race right here, and we thought that we might see this tonight. You know, they could go to about lap 110, between lap 10 and 120 on fuel, but, you know, you're going to want tires before you want fuel here at this track. So I'm not surprised at all to see those guys come down pit road.
Absolutely. Several drivers working their way down pit road, and you have to wonder, caution is out. We've got an incident on the track. I'm not sure what
Matt Kuntz, maybe.
happened. Matt Kuntz. Going to see if we can find this.
He's got
Definitely
some
know the
engine damage.
caution out. Yeah, and this is going to be a big downer for several cars like Evan Pienta and Johnny Rapp who came down pit road. Let's see if we can figure out what exactly happened to Matt Kuntz here on lap number 76.
Got loose off of turn 2 right there. We saw a lot of people struggling on corner exit. What happens here is the car gets tighter and tighter through the center of the corner. You put more and more wheel into it in the center of the corner. And as you're doing that, if you don't unload the wheel on corner exit, sometimes that you can run into this. We're right on board with him right here in the middle of 1 and 2.
And they are coming to the attention of their crews, Chris. Green flag pit stops as we ride on board with Matt Kuntz.
Yeah, some heavy contact there into the wall as Jacob Bradley, our race leader, makes his way down pit road. That's an unfortunate turn of events for a lot of those guys who did come to pit road. I believe they're all going to be able to stay out right here and get the wave around, but it's going to put them behind the 8 ball for sure, back in traffic.
Absolutely. They're going to have to definitely claw their way back, and we're going to be looking to see what driver claws their way out of pit road first here. All eyes on the number 60 as well as the number 58. Those were your front 2 coming in. Nick Lucci might barely lost out to Justin Wilson, who won the race off of pit road, but Nick Lucci got a head of steam. He's going to beat Jacob Bradley off of pit road, Chris, I believe.
Yeah, Lucci's boys, they took their Wheaties right there on that pit stop.
Yes, they sure did.
Yes, Patrick O'Toole, I think that Patrick just stayed out to lead a lap right there. So I think that all of these guys are going to get the, they're going to be able to get their wave around right here and get back on the lead lap. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. And Justin Wilson, you see the advantage of having that pit stall right there at the end of pit road. He was able just to launch and get away and grab the race lead back.
Absolutely. And hey, speaking of grabbing the lead, Justin Wilson probably drank his Apex Energy before the race tonight. Let's go ahead and pay some of the bills and hear from our presenting partner, Apex Energy. And I promise, folks, there is going to be more on the shelf soon. If you've been looking at apexenergydrink.com, it's coming back soon. Don't worry. We'll be back on the other end of this break. All right, we are back here for Slingshot Racing League in the Apex Energy Series. I'm Ellis Thomas, joined in the booth by Chris Smith. Drivers lining up double file here. You can see several of those cars speeding by. They got the wave around. They're going to get back on the lead lap after being trapped a lap down by that caution just on lap 75 for the Matt Kuntz single car spin. As we watch Justin Wilson, he's going to be the control car here. with Nick Lucci to his outside. Pace car is going to peel off. Wilson's going to have to wait to hit that blue Geico restart zone, and he hits that throttle. We are back underway. He gets a great clean start on the inside. Nick Lucci to the outside. He's going to have to worry about Jacob Bradley pretty quickly, who's going to drive it hard down into turn number 1. That 60 car is hungry. He does not want to let Nick pass before getting back to the back bumper of Justin Wilson, who is the points leader. Meanwhile, Bradley sits second in points, just about 6 or 7 points out of the lead with less than 2 races left. Bradley doing everything he can to stop the bleeding here and get back in a manageable position headed into the finale next week at Homestead. Lucci back to third. Scotty Sobczak now working on the back bumper of Lucci in that red, white, and blue number 81. Chris, one of the things we mentioned, cautions breed cautions. We just came off of a yellow flag. Are we in trouble? Maybe having another one here?
We very well could be. And, you know, for a lot of these guys, they got in a little bit of a lull right there with that long green flag run. You know, their adrenaline's pegged right now. They took their apex energy under that caution flag right there. And so, yeah, they're ready to rock and roll. As here comes DeWeese to the inside of Randy Bechtel. This is a battle for the 6th spot.
And Chris, I just want to mention, we had an almost catastrophic wreck. Patrick Piper and Patrick O'Toole spun away apart from each other coming out of turn 2 just a lap ago. So sorry to cut away from that for a second, but I just wanted to mention we got lucky there. I saw that we might have had some drivers in trouble, and we got away with one there.
Yeah, that's good, and that's the second time we've seen you know, a spin that we were able to get away with. You know, the second one that also involved Patrick Piper. So driver 38, Patrick Piper, having a little bit of a rough night here tonight, but he's only 1 lap down. We got several drivers. That caution right there put several drivers just 1 lap down, and so a lot of drivers still in contention tonight.
Yeah, lots of drivers still in contention. Justin Wilson and Jacob Bradley, 2 of those drivers, less than a car length right now, separate Bradley and Justin Wilson. The leader, Bradley, shows his nose headed down into turn 1. I don't think he's got the speed to do it here, but he's running, Chris. You see that different line, markedly different, that Bradley is running, entering in a little bit higher than Wilson. Is that serving him off the corner?
I think so. It definitely is. You can just see it right there in the middle of 3 and 4 as he works his way to the inside of Wilson.
Absolutely. Justin Wilson right now working the outside. Jacob Bradley on the inside going for the lead. This is a battle between Payday Racing teammates, but also first and second in the championship standings right now. I know we spend a lot of attention on these drivers as we watch Jacob Bradley almost get the left rear quarter panel of Justin Wilson here on lap number 88 of 150 at Richmond. But this is a battle for the championship. Jacob Bradley up the track a little bit. And Chris, we mentioned in pre-race, would these drivers race each other any differently? Right now, this is probably the most aggressive we've seen them race each other all season long. We saw almost a little bit of contact here, a couple of corners in a row.
Yeah, I mean, they're racing each other clean. You know, they're not making contact, anything like that, but they aren't cutting each other any breaks right here. They're running super close, running really tight together, and you know, Justin Wilson's gonna make Jacob Bradley earn that position right there. But we've seen Jacob with the speed all night. I feel like he's kind of had the speed on everybody all night. You know, short run pace and long run pace. So I feel like if I'm Jacob Bradley, I probably feel like this is my race to lose here tonight.
Absolutely. We've seen Bradley be the fastest car on track. And just looking through some of the stats, Chris, I wrote down Jacob Bradley's. I thought I wrote down some of the stats for him. I thought I had an average finish on short tracks. I might have missed that. I'm going to try to find that here in a moment. But Justin Wilson, he has had a really good top 5 average at short tracks as we watch him try to maintain that inside position right now. And this battle is not going away, folks. Down the backstretch, Jacob Bradley on the outside of Justin Wilson. He's making that outside line work pretty well right now. Is it going to help him off the corner? He carries the speed, but I don't think he's going to be able to clear that Margaritaville purple and green machine of Justin Wilson. They head down into 1. Wilson takes the inside once again. He looks like he gets a better roll off of turn 2 there, Chris. He's going to head down into 3 with the advantage, but you can see Jacob Bradley driving in really hard there. This is an epic battle, but we've got a caution on the track, and it looks like
might
have been Scott Tompkins.
Go back and see what happened to Scott here. Scott's been battling around the 10th spot all night. Battling really
Patrick
hard.
Colby Scott Tompkins and Patrick Colby looks like entering into turn 3.
Oh, yeah. I think that... so I think that what happens here is... So we'll watch it from overhead so that we can get a good perspective of this. Patrick Colby is he throws a little bit of block on him down the back stretch, and Scott Tompkins didn't like it very much at all. I think that Patrick Colby is trying to, don't know what happened. Something could have happened leading up to this. Some tempers could have been flaring a little bit, but that looked like he turned down early, and maybe Scott wasn't very happy with that move from Patrick, and decided to make his displeasure known to the driver of the number 9.
Yeah, and he paid the price himself. Not only did he lose several spots, but I think he's probably going to get an EOL penalty for being the cause of that caution. Watching drivers come off of pit road, and some interesting strategy here, Chris. Looks like Chris Pierce took 2 tires to get out to the lead on that pit stop after about 20 laps on those older tires. What do you think of this strategy for Chris Pierce and that Apex Energy number 65 on lap number 94?
We're not 100% sure about what the left side tire wear has been like tonight, but just speaking from past experience, I'll tell you that if you just take 2 tires here in iRacing, it generally just makes the car much, much freer. It just makes the car much more loose. So if Chris Pierce has been a little bit tight all night, if he's felt like his car is, just pushing a little bit in the center of the corner, maybe he feels like this will be the balance change that he needs. I will say, though, that I would want to have 4 tires. I would want to take 4 tires every time.
Chris Pierce is a much braver man than I. Hey, let us know what you think about this 2-tire call in the chat. You think 2 tires is the way to go with about 55 laps left? It's going to move up Chris Pierce about 5 positions in the running order to the lead. We talked about how difficult it is to pass all night long. Let us know. You taking 2 or you going with 4 tires in the chat? Hey, a couple other shout-outs. Mark Lucci says, use your head, Nick Lucci. He sees all the chaos going on around the track. So I'm curious how Mark Lucci knows Nick Lucci. I know they're family members. I'm curious what the relation is. Looking through the rest of the chat, as always, we've got some major Braxton DeWeese fans in here as well. Yep, Don Hilbrun says she wants all 4 tires, Chris. And I'm trusting Don. I go with Don's opinion every single time.
Yeah, I think that I would too.
Doug Middendorf, hey, welcome back, man. I wanted to let you know I did send off that diecast you won a couple of weeks ago. Hopefully you got it in the mail. Sorry, it might have been just a little bit late, but hopefully I didn't put the wrong address. So we appreciate you tuning in as always. Right now, I think we're about a lap away from the restart. It looks like several drivers getting their lap back. They took a wave around. Chris Pierce is going to be the leader. They're going to catch up to the pace car. And we're going to be going green with about 53 laps left. We've almost reached the 2/3 mark of this race. Several drivers on 4 tires, but Chris Pierce looks to be, Chris, the lone man. I take that back. Chase Berry, also, based on my telemetry here, moved up several spots after starting 19th. He definitely moved up at least 6 or 7 spots there with a 2-tire strategy call. Right now, that 2-tire leader, Chris Pierce, going to be taking the green flag once he enters the Geico restart zone. Pace car's off. Oh, late start on the 65. Maybe a little bit of a check on the 58 of Justin Wilson, but Chris Pierce is off to the races in that number 65 Apex Energy car. We mentioned the 2 tires might free it up a little bit. Pierce is going to have to be careful with Jacob Bradley. Second place in the points to his outside, 2 by 2 by 2. Bradley and Wilson almost make contact. Caution is out once again. That might have been Lee Campbell back there, Chris.
Lee Campbell, Tony Caputo, it looks like James Danforth, Nick DeCesare, several cars involved right here. Maybe Paul Thomas as well.
Cautions breed cautions is the saying.
On a short track like this especially. We'll watch right here with Tony Caputo. He's on the inside of Kyle Dewey here, coming off of... Oh, it looks like some contact right there between Dewey and Paul Thomas. Paul Thomas is up the track right here. And
I also, there's a little bit of net code, but you got to be aware of those Those cars slower on the outside. I think that's just catching Paul Thomas at a bad time.
Yeah.
3 wide's never going to work.
I would not be charging 3 wide right here. When it really narrows up, you can really see it from the overhead perspective right here. You see how it narrows up right here. This wall is very, very straight, very, very quick. And, yeah, just some contact right there between the 33 and the 40. Unfortunately, Nick DeCesare, James Danforth, Lee Campbell, they're all innocent victims in that deal.
Yeah, and that is racing. As they say, oh, cross the seas, them's the brakes. That's caution number 3 here on lap 100 in the Apex Energy Series 150 at Richmond Raceway. Chris, I think Chris Pierce might have caught a bit of a break there. And speaking of breaks, I think we need to go ahead and hear from our friends over at Evan Pienta Designs for a quick commercial break. We'll catch you on the other end of this one.
Are you looking for high-quality, affordable sim racing paint schemes and graphics? Then look no further than Evan at Evan Pienta Designs. Driven by speed, Evan Pienta Designs offers a multitude of sim racing graphics from liveries to social media graphics to team and series logos. To see some of the work done by Evan, or even race one of the public liveries he's made, head on over to tradingpaints.com and search Evan Pienta.
All right, we are getting ready for a restart, just about a lap away here for Slingshot Racing League. Race number 14 out of 15. Just 2 laps left. Chris Pierce is your leader. Reminder, if you're just joining us, Pierce been running 4th, 5th, 6th all night long, but he stayed out. I didn't stay out. He came in, but got 2 tires, propelling him up to the lead with a faster pit stop. Justin Wilson and Jacob Bradley running 3rd and 2nd are also 1st and 2nd in the championship point standing. So got some interesting dynamics brewing with a restart of about 46 laps remaining, just over the 2/3 point here at Richmond. I'm Ellis Thomas, joined by Chris Smith in the booth. Chris, are things going to get any calmer here? We've seen 2 cautions over the span of about 10 or 15 laps.
I don't think so. I don't think they're going to get any calmer at all. In fact, I think that we're going to see the intensity pick up. And I'm going to have my eyes on the lead because I want to see what happens right here with Chris Pierce. But I'm also going to have my eyes fixated right here on this battle between the 12th and the 13th place drivers of Patrick Colby and Scott Tompkins. They're going to be restarting really close to each other on this restart. So, yeah, we might not be finished with this little disagreement.
Yeah, this makes me definitely a little bit nervous. We've known both of these drivers to have hot tempers. We love drivers who have hot tempers. That's part of being a race car driver, but we've seen it in the past from both of these drivers. So, hey, you're right. If anything's going to happen on the track right now as we get ready to go green, it is going to be between those guys. Chris Pierce looking to get a good jump on the number 60 of Jacob Bradley. It's going to be harder in those 2 tires, but he's the control car. He enters that blue Geico restart zone. He's going to wait. He hits the throttle. He gets a nice clean start. Oh. Chase Berry does not. Jeremy Gardner loose at the hands of Randy Bechtel down the front straightaway. Bechtel's going to go on by. Gardner's going to lose about 5 or 6 spots on that restart. Pierce jumps out to a lead. Jacob Bradley works his way down the backstretch. He's going to show his nose on Chris Pierce for the lead as they head down into 3. Pierce on the outside, Jacob Bradley in the 60 on the inside. They get ready to cross the line here on lap number 105. Justin Wilson back in 3rd. Chris Braxton DeWeese has entered into the discussion. He's in 4th. He drives it really hard into that corner, back into the clutches of Scotty Sobczak as we watch Justin Wilson right now work on the inside of Chris Pierce. Wilson drives it in really hard. Braxton DeWeese going to try to capitalize on that hole that Wilson opens as they head across the line, back down into turn number 1. Bradley out to about 4 or 5 car lengths of the lead. Justin Wilson's going to clear Pierce. That leaves Braxton DeWeese to fill the hole. He's going to work on Pierce on the inside. Pierce loose on the outside exit of turn 2. DeWeese into 3rd position after starting 20th, the biggest mover of the race easily. I know we've got some DeWeese fans in the chat. They got to be really extremely happy right now, Chris, after that sequence of events.
Yeah, they really are. And I think the craziness on that restart was because Chris Pierce restarted at the end of the restart zone, which that's his prerogative. That's what he can do. But I think some drivers were trying to anticipate the start, and that's what caused that big jam up. We saw Chase Berry way out of shape. We saw what happened between Bechtel and Gardner. Might have been some contact between those two. Yeah, this is exactly what Jacob Bradley wanted. He wanted to get clear of all of that chaos, grab that lead back, and get back in control of this race.
Absolutely. Jacob Bradley right now with about a 4-car length lead over Justin Wilson. The same can be said back to Braxton DeWeese in third. Right now, the battle going on between Dan Rowe and Chris Pierce. Dan Rowe, Chris, this is the furthest. Oh,
some
Rowe
contact.
And Pierce made contact. I thought Rowe was about to take a head-on trip into the turn 2 wall there. Thought we were going to have deja vu of last week at Nashville, Chris, for a moment. But Dan Rowe moves into the 5th position. He's got a hot rod right now, running some of the fastest lap times of the race. That last time by, the lap before that, he was as fast as Jacob Bradley, the leader. Chris Pierce, I think, really ruining that choice maybe to take 2 tires on that last pit stop, Chris. Chris Pierce right now back to 8th position after starting in the lead about 6 laps ago.
Yeah, I think so, and just being up on the outside like that, you know, I think that maybe if Chris Pierce was on the inside, I think that maybe he could hold his position. I think that maybe he could hold pace, but unfortunately, he's got hung up here on the outside, and, you know, with fresh tires on all these other drivers, and, you know, this soon right after a restart, I think he's just having a really hard time maintaining pace. The other driver on 2 tires is up in front of him, Chase Berry, and I think that Chase can maintain his position because he's just been able to ride right here on the bottom.
Oh, man, this is a good battle here between Tompkins, Pierce, Rye Jones, and Gardner. This is, we talked about Chase Berry for a moment. That settled itself out a little bit, but right behind them, the battle is intensifying as Rye Jones works on the back of Chris Pierce. Now to the inside, Lucci. I'm trying to figure out what happened to Nick Lucci. How did he find himself back to 14th? Oh,
some contact.
Pierce and Jones headed down into one. Both cars sideways. They're going to hold on to it. Both drivers of the 65 and the 91 gather it back up. But, oh, man, Rye Jones going to push Chris Pierce up into the wall just a little bit there. Maybe showing a little bit of displeasure of how they raced each other off the corner of turn 2 just a moment ago. Wow. Some of the best racing of the night going on here on lap 114 of 150 for the Apex Energy. 150 for the Slingshot Racing League. Jacob Bradley is your leader. Justin Wilson runs second. Braxton DeWeese is third. He is quickly closing on Justin Wilson. Scotty Sobczak is fourth. Dan Rowe, we were talking about him and Chase Berry in the 5th and 6th position before we cut to some of that Chris Pierce action as he continues to fall through the field, trying to maintain position, but on those old tires, Chris, it is just really difficult to do as he works his way, or at least Sean Johnson works his way inside of Chris Pierce in that number 65. And that just looks, that's got to feel like there's a freight train coming behind you if you're the driver of that Apex Energy 65, Chris.
Yeah, it is. It's just an unfortunate feeling. And, you know, you mentioned Nick Lucci before. You know, just want to circle back to, you know, maybe what happened to Nick Lucci. I'm not 100%, but I think that maybe he was caught out by that caution as at the beginning of what was going to look like a green flag pit cycle. So unfortunate for the driver of the 96 there. He's got to battle back for some track position. I know Rye Jones is also cut out by that because Rye Jones actually came way early. He came, you know, well before that caution came out. But he was able to take the wave around, get back on the lead lap, and is back on sync with all these other leaders around him. So he's going to be looking to battle his way back up, as is Jeremy Gardner, who unfortunately was a victim in that restart mess that we had.
Yeah, they've both been working their way through through the field. We've seen Rye Jones make early pit calls. He's usually one of the first guys to come down pit road in most races this season, and it just happened to work to his detriment on that last caution, a couple of cautions ago. Right now, interesting little scrum going on between Daniel Rowe, Chase Berry, and Wesley Pistol for 5th position. It's Dan Rowe who's holding it. It's Chase Berry and Wesley Pistol, along with Pienta, who want that position right now. Chris, I pulled up some stats on Wesley Pistol, and he's got an average finish of 5th place over the last 3 weeks. We've talked about it. He doesn't qualify well, but he ends up racing these Xfinity cars pretty well over the course of these long runs. And right now, we might be getting into one of those here with 30 laps remaining for Pistol. Oh, Berry and Rowe almost get together off of 2. Go ahead, Chris.
Chase Berry's hanging in there really, really nice on these 2 tires up here battling, trying to get that 5th spot from Dan Rowe. Yeah, I think Wesley Pistol this season, he's been really, really fast on long runs. One of the faster drivers on long runs all season, but unfortunately just hasn't quite been able to make it work in qualifying. And I think that just kind of puts him behind a little bit at the beginning of the races. And I think that if he could qualify a little bit better, I think that he would find himself in contention for a lot of these races because he's got some really good race pace, and he's had it all season.
Absolutely. Chase Berry working his way underneath Wesley Pistol in that number 7. We've talked about race pace for Wesley Pistol. Right now, looking at some of his lap times, he's only been about a 10th off the leaders the last several laps. So Wesley Pistol's definitely got some speed, Chris. But right now, Bradley Wilson and Deweese, now Scotty Sobczak, all running near identical lap times 2 laps ago. Wilson and Deweese, the quickest cars on track that time by. They look like they're keeping pace with Jacob Bradley over the past couple of laps. One thing I'm going to be curious to check in on as we watch this battle, yellow flag is out. That might have been Jeremy Gardner.
Chase Berry.
Actually, no. Chase Berry. Yep.
Man, we just got to talk about how great of a job he was doing holding on with those 2 tires. Go back and see if we can find out what happened to the driver of the 17 here. It's on the inside right here of Evan Pienta. They're battling really hard for position right here. It looks like Wesley Pistol has cleared those guys. And, oh, man, I think that, yeah, Chase just got a little bit loose right there. Tried to correct it, unfortunately, for him. Some contact with Evan Pienta, sent him around. He was trying his best to not take Evan out. He was doing everything he could to not hook Evan towards that inside wall, and unfortunately got himself turned to it.
Randy Bechtel definitely got a little bit of damage from that as well. I know Randy probably not going to be pleased with that innocent bystander, but hey, this is going to allow the leaders, Chris, one more time to come down pit road. It's going to be about a 23-lap shootout here at Richmond. We're going to see who's going to win this battle off pit road. We've seen that be pretty critical all night long for these leaders. I see Braxton Deweese headed off. Did he get 2? Deweese is going to win the race off pit road. Pistol's also taken 2, Chris, and I'm not sure. It's a battle for 3rd between Justin Wilson and Jacob Bradley. Really curious to look here. I can pretty much guarantee that Braxton Deweese and Wesley Pistol took 2 tires. That is a gutsy call. Justin Wilson being credited with the spot off pit road. Jacob Bradley going to lose about 3 or 4 spots, but Johnny Rapp, Chris, and Chris Blassie stayed out. Yeah. So I'm curious, this is going to throw a monkey wrench in everything we thought we knew about this race. So I'm really curious here what the strategy is for Johnny Rapp. He's on 32-lap old tires. Chris Blassie is on lap 25 old tires. Chris, I think, here's what I can't guarantee this, but I'm looking at the numbers, and I'm seeing that they both pit 2 times, Rapp and Deweese, or sorry, Blassie. That was the leader's last set of tires.
Yep.
So Rapp and Blassie are hanging on to the thought, the idea, and I don't think it's a bad strategy that another caution might come out.
That's true. Another caution could come out, but I think that if it did, they still got to stay out because, I mean, if we just look through, we've got 23 cars on the lap. I mean, this is Richmond short track. There's no way that you could get through the field. Those drivers right here, like they're staying out because they want to try to get the best possible position they get in the finishing order here. I don't think that even if the caution came out, I think that honestly they're probably hoping that there are some cautions here. They do not want this thing to go green to the end because if it goes green to the end, they're kind of going to get eaten up.
Trouble. Yeah, they are. I think they're going to get eaten up here pretty quickly. Interesting strategy call. Dawn, you've been watching our races long enough. She says, got to be careful with all the different tire strategies up front there. I think you've seen your fair share of slingshot racing events, Dawn. We appreciate you as well as everyone else in the YouTube and Twitch chat for that matter tuning in. Let us know who is going to win this race. We've got some varying strategies going on. Do you think it's going to be Johnny Rapp or Chris Blassie on those 2 tires? Do you think it's going to be Braxton Deweese? I know we got some Deweese fans. He's on 2 tires as well. Sorry, Rapp and Blassie are on old tires. Deweese is on a new set of 2 tires. Pistol's taken 2, and then the rest of the drivers, 5th through 10th or so, all are on 4 fresh tires. What strategy do you like here? Drivers working their way down the backstretch, getting ready for a restart with about 22 laps to go. This is going to be an interesting one, Chris. I think none of us up here in the booth, or probably on the racetrack for that matter, know what is going to happen right now. I think this is going to make for entertaining racing. Pace car is going to peel off. We're getting ready to go racing again here in the Apex Energy Series 150. Rapp gets a really good start. Blassie just cannot hang with him. Those old tires spun a little bit on the start for Blassie. He's back 4 positions. It's created 3 wide racing behind him. Pistol, Bradley, and Bechtel. Also Rowe and Jones. Calamity in turn 2 and 3. Piper, and I believe that might have been Nick Lucci and James Danforth in turns 2 and 3. Several cars got collected in that. And Chris, cautions breed cautions.
They do, and we'll go back and look at that restart, but the guy who's the big loser on that restart, unfortunately, was our second place in points, Jacob Bradley. Lost a lot of spots by restarting on the outside. We'll see right here, Patrick Piper. Oh, some contact between Piper and Campbell, it looked like. Lee Campbell spun it. I think that Piper actually might have had some contact as well with Kyle Dewey there in the aftermath. I think Patrick Piper has put it on the truck. He's had a rough night tonight.
Yeah, it has been a challenging night, to say the least, for Patrick Piper. So I know he's probably going to be glad to move on to Homestead next week. But yeah, that was a difficult moment for Patrick Piper.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll go back and actually look at this restart. I want to show everybody, as it looks like James Danforth and Paul Thomas actually had some contact as well in the aftermath of that crash. But we'll go back and we'll actually look at this restart right here, and we'll sort of follow on board with Jacob Bradley. He's going to restart on the outside of Justin Wilson, and we'll actually ride on board with Jacob here. He's on the, so he wants to maintain pace with Justin. That's his rival in championship points right here. And just watch as Justin just sort of disappears from view here, because the top just does not get rolling. It does not get rolling quick enough there. And unfortunately for Jacob right there, he made the move pretty quickly to the middle. Hopefully, hopefully everything is good to go there on that restart. Race controller Sam Maxwell watching everything, and you know, the eye in the sky. But yeah, Jacob.
Definitely.
Yeah, it was a little bit close right there, and you know, Jacob just saw those positions kind of disappear from view right there, and unfortunate restart for him. Nothing that he had anything to do with, though. It was just you know, bad luck.
Wesley Pistol also big loser, going back to 7th after I believe starting 3rd or 4th on that restart. Just about a lap and a quarter away from the next restart, Chris. I think the biggest winner maybe of that sequence of events might have been Braxton DeWeese. He's up on the outside right now. He's got fresher tires than Johnny Rapp. I know he's not going to be the control car. As we are still working caution, I think we're getting some things squared away here. We're going to talk about that here in a moment, but I think we should go ahead and hear from our championship trophy partners, UD Awards. It's either going to be Justin Wilson or Jacob Bradley, who we've been talking about all night long, taking home that amazing championship trophy. Let's go ahead and hear from UD Awards here for the next moment or so.
How do we get these one-of-a-kind amazing trophies? Well, we were fortunate to find UD Awards when we started our league. We reached out and we connected with Christopher, and we got started designing these one-of-a-kind works of art. The process was easy from start to finish. After just a few revisions, we finalized each one of them, and the team at UD got to work building each trophy from scratch. They're a small team, but they've got the ability to do just about anything your brain can imagine. And don't worry, if you're not an artist, they've got an entire catalog of unique trophies in pretty much any material you can imagine. Wood, acrylic, glass, and in the case of last season's trophy, metal. The best part, they're affordable. If you're looking for a trophy for your event or league, the choice is simple. UD Awards can give you exactly what you want.
Breakaway?
Go.
We're back live here. Restart getting ready to happen. Johnny Rapp hits the throttle. We are green with about 16 laps left here at Richmond. Braxton DeWeese second. Justin Wilson doing what he can to get inside DeWeese. This is a battle for second, and very well it might be a battle for the win if Johnny Rapp's old tires can't hold off. Calamity
Contact.
back in the back.
Wesley
Pistol
Pistol.
on the wall. Bechtel, several cars. Rye Jones, Scotty Tompkins, several cars on their roofs. Major crash here on lap number 135. That is what they call a track blocker, ladies and gentlemen, on the restart. Cautions breed cautions. Nick Lucci got involved in that as well. Chris Pierce, Jeremy Gardner. Chris, that was a big one.
It was. Saw a lot of cars in a very small space right there. And I think it's, again, 3 wide off of turn 2. We've seen it all night, how it's been a trouble spot. We'll go back right here. I think the beginning of the contact is going to be about where Dan Rowe is. Dan Rowe and Wesley Pistol coming off turn 2 right here. Oh, actually, it was... Yeah, I think it kind of started maybe in front of them. So three wide with Randy Bechtel, Wesley Pistol, and Chris Blassie. We'll follow right here. We'll actually look at... keep on following Wesley Pistol. And... just some contact between both the 51 and the 7. Oh man, some big contact. I think we need to check in on Scott Tompkins and make sure that he's okay, because my gosh.
That was I don't know if anyone's ever hit that spot at Richmond, but I feel like Jeff Gordon took a hit to the wall.
Jeff Gordon finds all those spots.
Yeah, right where that bend happens, and man, that will do numbers on a car. But yeah, that's going to hit the highlight reels. That's going to be popular on YouTube Shorts next week. That was a tough crash for a lot of drivers, Chris. But we were mentioning it. That's going to be good for Johnny Rapp. It's going to be good for Braxton DeWeese. Several of these cars who took either no tires or 2 tires are really going to benefit. This is going to be setting up a restart with about 10 laps to go. 10-lap shootout. And the difference between 4 tires and 2 tires is going to be less over the course of 10 laps than it is going to be a longer run. So, again, we're looking at Justin Wilson kind of being the first car on fresh tires. Scotty Sobczak there as well. Jacob Bradley moves back into the 5th position. And Chris Blassie up to 6th, or still running 6th. He hasn't dropped back any really much further than he had. I think he benefited from that lap number 136 wreck. But, woof, man. Let's hang our hats for some of those cars as we watch Rye Jones take a rollover spill there, as well as Scotty Tompkins. And man, I think we're going to need to catch our breath after that one, and I think we're going to need to save our breath here for this last restart. It's going to get intense. Let us know in the chat. Can we make it to the checkered flag without another caution here at Richmond after this big one? Just a couple of laps ago, stemming from contact between Wesley Pistol, Randy Bechtel, Dan Rowe, and Rye Jones, is collecting several other cars. Do you think we make it? Let us know. Chris DeWeese, Don Hilbrans, Doug Mindorf, John Rapp. You know your job. Let us know in the chat. We're going to make it? Who's going to win it? Root your favorite driver on right now. And hey, if you're liking what you're seeing, go ahead and hit that like button on YouTube right now. And if you really like what you're seeing, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so you get all of our live races when they hit the airwaves. May, this is the first time I think I've seen May tonight. I think that they may be able to, and with a little bit of knowledge, you can. I think they're going to have to use their racing knowledge to keep it clean here. So right now, several drivers in contention. Rapp, DeWeese, Wilson roll their way down the backstretch. It is indeed going to be a 10-lap shootout, short track, Saturday night style here at Richmond. I'm Ellis Thomas, joined in the booth by Chris Smith, Apex Energy Series Racing from Slingshot Racing League. Rapp's going to lead him down. He's going to be the control car. Pace car peels off. Rapp's going to have to wait for the Blue Geico restart zone. He's going to wait. Late start for Johnny Rapp. He's going to get the jump on Wilson, who's got to lay off for Rapp. Braxton DeWeese is going to get in front of Wilson, Chris. That is going to be crucial for DeWeese. Blassie and Sean Johnson up the track. DeWeese, he's going to try to make a move on the inside. He's got Justin Wilson looking on the inside down the backstretch. How impatient does DeWeese get here?
Oh,
with
some
Johnny
contact.
Rapp. DeWeese moves Johnny Rapp. Can DeWeese hang on to it? DeWeese is sideways. Rapp is sideways. We are green. No, we're now yellow. Dewey gets caught up in that. And I think, Chris, that answered my question about how impatient Deweese gets with that car of Johnny Rapp on old tires. I don't think Johnny Rapp is going to be happy with the driver, that number 8. Going to have to look back at this incident. But you can see Deweese on the inside there, headed down into turn 3.
I feel like we'll go back here and we'll see from an overhead perspective, but I felt like there was enough room in there. I feel like Johnny, okay, so he's clear of him here. Yeah, and they just kind of ran out of room right there in the center of the corner. I think Johnny is like trying to make the turn down because Braxton's still not there yet, and Braxton powers up right about the time that Johnny is trying to make the apex, and unfortunately they make contact. Ultimately, I think that's probably more like on the, just like a highway incident. It's probably a little bit more on the driver from behind, but it's not like it's malicious or anything like that.
Yeah.
He's just coming in. He's trying to get to the inside because there's a hole there. There is a hole to the inside, and I just think that Johnny thinks he's clear. He is clear right here, and as he's making the turn down, that's where Braxton is powering it up and trying to get in there. And unfortunately, they just come together.
This was kind of the perfect storm with Johnny running that dime in the corner, coming in a little bit high, trying to arc it down off, and Braxton Deweese throttling up at the same time. Both drivers going for their first win of the season, Chris. So you can't fault necessarily either one of them in the heat of the moment. Now, this is going to be good news for Scotty Sobczak, but also Jacob Bradley. Justin Wilson, I think, going to be the biggest loser on that exchange. He's back to 5th after having to get out of the throttle. Jacob Bradley up to 2nd, Chris.
Yeah, and I was just going to go back and talk about that incident right there with with Deweese, and you saw on the backstretch right there. I can't go back and look at it now, but you saw on the backstretch with Deweese and Rapp. I think that Johnny probably felt like Braxton wasn't close enough down the straightaway. I think that he wasn't quite inside of him on the straightaway, and I think Johnny probably felt like that corner was his coming up, and I just think that it was just unfortunate contact between them, and unfortunately they just came together, and that's just racing for the win with less than 10 laps to go here on a short track.
Yeah, this is short track racing. We predicted it. We are a series that typically runs 1 or 2 cautions over the course of a long race, and tonight we've definitely seen more than our fair share, but that is the nature of this track. That is short track racing. Whether you've got iRacers or professional Cup Series drivers, that is going to be the name of the game. A couple of questions in the chat. May says, is this a series? We absolutely are the Apex Energy Series. When you go to Talladega or Daytona, well, you can look at our YouTube replays and see several Talladega and Daytona races, but with just one race left this season, we're not going to head back to Talladega or Daytona until next season, starting in January. So check us out there. Subscribe if you already haven't. Brittany Rapp says, come on, Johnny. I know the Rapps are a little bit disappointed there. I know they were probably hoping for a win tonight for Johnny. He was in a good position to do so. Chris Deweese says that car was rotating well. I could not agree more. Braxton Deweese had one of the fastest cars on the track. Chris says Braxton definitely did not mean to do that. He's very upset with himself. We do not doubt it. We know how Braxton races. He's a great race car driver. He is a class act every time he's raced with us, so we definitely know where you're coming from with that. Right now, Scotty Sobczak looks to take advantage of the misfortune of several drivers. He hits the throttle with about 5 laps left. Scotty Sobczak is off to the races. Jacob Bradley and Dan Rowe fight for 2nd place. Can we make it to the checkered flag now with 4 laps left? Scotty Sobczak is your leader. He hasn't gotten a win this season. He is going to be happy to get one. Right now, yellow flag is out. Caution is out. I believe that might have been Lee Campbell.
I think that you're right. We'll go back in. Yep, it was Lee Campbell. We'll see if we can see what happened here with the driver of the number 14. Got some engine damage. Oh, contact with Kyle Dewey hard into the wall. Looks like Dewey was loose on corner entry. Well, actually right on board right here with Lee Campbell on the roof cam.
Yeah. Dewey got Bechtel, and that pushed Dewey back up the track into an innocent bystander.
Yeah,
Lee Campbell. I know if Maddie's watching in the chat, she's gonna definitely feeling for Lee here.
Yeah, and it started all the way on the straightaway right here. We see some contact actually in the wall. Kyle Dewey tags the wall right there, and he goes down the hill, tags Randy Bechtel in the right rear, and then that shoots him back into Lee Campbell there, unfortunately. So, yeah, that was just looks like Kyle Dewey just misjudged on corner entry and hit the wall trying to make as wide of an arc as he could, and unfortunately Lee got caught up in that.
And this is going to set up a green-white checkered. Man, this is going to be intense because we've got two drivers, Scotty Sobczak and Dan Rowe, who haven't won a race this season. Chris, Dan Rowe has had a faster lap time the past couple of green flag laps we've run. He hasn't won a race ever in Slingshot Racing League. So we've got some drivers who are hungry here. Don says it's turned into a demolition derby. Don, yeah. Not much else needed to say here other than, yeah, we've had some drivers definitely with some damage tonight. The wreckers are going to be out in full force. Alan's Art Images said good race tonight. Braxton, yeah, absolutely. Great run going until that caution a couple of laps ago. Right now, setting up the restart, probably a lap and a half away if I had to guess, Chris. And the championship implications here, I think, are pretty significant. Right now, Jacob Bradley is at least going to have 3 points over Justin Wilson in the stage points. He's going to have at least 2 or 3 points here in finishing order if things finish the way they are. So we're looking maybe for a championship battle that is within 4 or 5 points.
Yeah, it's going to be close, and we saw Dan Rowe and Jacob Bradley. They were battling each other super, super hard, very aggressively on that restart, and that was the difference right there. You know, at the moment of caution, Dan Rowe was in front of Jacob Bradley, so that's a good break for Rowe and a bad break for Bradley. But, you know, maybe Jacob Bradley likes being where he's at right here because he can being the second place car on a restart here is very tricky. You want to be able to be that car, like if you're not in the lead, being in third is probably the next best position to be in because you can judge, you can see that car in front of you so well, and you can judge when to restart. So if I'm Jacob Bradley right here, I want to try to get the best restart that I can get right here. Maybe try to put another position between myself and Justin Wilson, and then see what I can do with Scotty Sobczak here coming to the checkered flag.
And they're not going to have long to wait. Just about a lap away from the restart. Scotty Sobczak and Dan Rowe are going to be your front row leaders. Jacob Bradley second. Evan Pienta, Chris, has worked his way sneakily into the 4th position. Justin Wilson, your championship leader, is 5th. Chris Blassie, 6th. Hey, shout out to Sean Johnson and James Danforth, who have just worked their way through the field, up 9 positions and 17th positions, respectively. Great job by
Chris
those
Blassie
drivers.
as well in 6th spot right here, our Talladega winner, or I'm sorry, our Daytona winner from the Super Speedway Series.
He won the Super Speedway Fall Classic finale at Daytona. Pace car is off. Who's going to win this race tonight at Richmond? Scotty Sobczak takes the green flag. He gets a nice jump on Dan Rowe. Can the rest of the field keep it intact for 2 laps? Scotty Sobczak has the jump. Jacob Bradley doing everything he can get. 4 wide down into 1. Is it going to work? Johnny Rapp, Patrick O'Toole, Ryan Hinkle.
Hinkle.
Looks like Hinkle in another car gets sideways down the backstretch. Will they stay out of the racing line? Jacob Bradley hoping they don't. Looking for another chance. Checkered flag, white flag, sorry, is out. They are going to race back to the line. Scotty Sobczak doing everything he can to hold off Jacob Bradley and Dan Rowe. He's about half a lap away from a win here. Can the driver from California go to the other coast at night and take the victory for the first time this season? Several cars sideways behind him. Scotty Sobczak is your winner at Richmond. Wow, fireworks going off in the background. Fireworks were going off on the track tonight. Scotty Sobczak is going to win it, but I have a feeling several drivers are going to have some tempers a little bit high here towards the end of the race because, Chris, we definitely saw some contact there. Going to try to go back and take just a moment to see if we can see what happened. I think Chris Blassie might have been in that. Did Justin Wilson make it through it?
He did. Yeah, he made it through.
Okay.
He finished in 4th. Yeah, great run for Daniel Rowe right here in the 3rd spot, bringing it home on the podium.
Yeah, that is his best career slingshot finish. And it looks like Nick Lucci and James Danforth might have collided. They collected Sean Johnson a little bit back there. But yeah, great job. Your top three tonight, Scotty Sobczak, Jacob Bradley, Dan Rowe, for the first time this season, finds the podium. And there will be a point swing by at least 5 or 6 points tonight. Justin Wilson's your 4th place finisher. Evan Pienta finishes 5th. Chris Blassie 6th. We'll talk about the rest of the finishers here in a moment. But as the fireworks erupt on the backstretch here at Richmond, we're going to catch an interview with our top 3. Give us just a moment to get everyone into the broadcast booth. All right, we're going to try to hear from Dan Rowe to start things off in these post-race interviews. Let's see if we can find him in the chat right now. I see, there he is. Okay. Dan Rowe, driver of the number 68. This is Ellis and Chris in the broadcast booth. You got a copy.
Hey guys, how's it going?
It is going, man. I know it's going really well for you. I know you were wanting a win there. Probably would have even preferred second, but man, this is your first podium of the season. Congratulations. You had a hot rod out there tonight. Do you need to take a breather after that race? This is one of the most chaotic ones we've seen this second half of the season.
Yeah, my heart was running after that last green white checkered, but you know, turned kind of hectic at the end, but it worked out for me because I was definitely not strong in the long run.
Yeah, man, short track racing is tough, and I think we saw that kind of illustrated out on track tonight with more cautions than we're accustomed to here in Slingshot Racing League. Talk to us about how that car drove all night. You mentioned that you're a little bit better on the short runs than the long runs. What was the difficulty for you as the runs went on?
I'm really bad about burning my stuff up, especially the right front, so that definitely happened in the first run. But the short runs definitely didn't really have a chance for that to happen, so that helped me out.
Yeah, well, you did a really good job working your way up to the front. How did you manage to get up as the race kind of went on into the later stages? How did pit strategy play a factor in that?
I think I lucked out. I took 4 tires when a couple guys took 2, and we had that like 30-lap run there. They started to fall back, and then just avoiding wrecks on the way through.
Yeah, well, congratulations. I know it was a bit tenuous there in the final 10 laps or so, really for the final 40 laps of the race. We're going to let you go celebrate. Before we do so, do you have any shout-outs you'd like to give?
I want to thank you guys for putting this on. Sam for race control, my teammates at 3D1M. You know, they were going to help me. Scott wrecked out, but he was helping me, telling me how far to drive in to try to maximize what I could get.
Man, good job out there tonight. That number 68 looked great. Hopefully we'll see an equally good run from you next week at Homestead. Dan Rowe, everyone, 3rd place finisher tonight. All right, so we're going to go ahead and hear from Jacob Bradley. We're going to try to pull him into the broadcast booth. Chris, I'll let you take it away.
Jacob Bradley, driver of the number 60. This is the Slingshot booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Man, I feel like this is a tale of 2 races for you, Jacob. We felt like that you had the speed on everybody all night and that you were class of the field. But unfortunately, it seemed like after, you know, the initial cautions, everything just turned to chaos. Are you just happy to survive tonight?
Yeah, I'm really happy to survive. Glad that I'm able to talk to you guys. It's been a long month. But I definitely think I had a good piece for tonight, and I kind of got in the wrong spot on that restart with a couple to go and had to lose a couple spots and then come back through the field. Scott was already in front of me and we just ran out of time.
Yeah, we were watching you on that restart, and yeah, it just seemed like bad luck. You restarted on the top, and unfortunately that lane just didn't move, and you know, that was you kind of battling back ever since then, and we just didn't have enough green flag racing from that point forward. But you had really good short run pace and really good long run pace tonight. Talk to us a little bit about the racing when you actually were able to race. Was it enjoyable out there tonight?
Yeah, it was definitely a fun race. The setup was kind of tight in the center. It gave kind of a style that I wasn't used to for most Richmond cars, where you kind of plow through the center and then it just finally bites. I'm used to it just biting. And it definitely kind of led into what I was doing, backing up the center, and everybody ran a really good race. Me and Justin had some fun up there. We were pinching each other, and it was definitely a good time up front until it kind of divulged into chaos.
You guys were definitely putting on a good show. Good, clean racing, but really, really hard racing. And we loved watching it. One more race to go coming up in Homestead, and it's going to be super, super tight between the two of you guys. What are your thoughts heading into next week?
Well, I just got to put myself back in victory lane. It's been a while, and that's really all that's going to decide it. If I win the race, it doesn't matter what he does.
Absolutely. That's the best mentality to have, going and trying to fight for a championship. We know that you're going to put on a great show and that you're going to be tough to beat next week. Any shout-outs that you want to give before we let you go celebrate this second-place finish?
Yeah, I want to shout out my parents for watching the broadcast. You guys are putting it on. And I want to thank my team. I can have a better team behind me. We all put in a ton of effort, and it definitely shows on race day.
All right, man. That's Jacob Bradley, our second-place finisher, and he's going to battle for a championship next weekend at Homestead. Congratulations, Jacob.
Thank you, guys.
All right. And I can say that based on a basic calculation, Chris, it's going to be a 5-point race for the championship next week at Homestead. Those points aren't official yet, but based on my pretty terrible math skills, I think it's going to be around 5 points. So that's close enough. We'll have the official stats over the course of the week coming into the finale at Homestead. But right now, man of the hour, we're going to pull Scotty Sobczak in and hear how his race went, ultimately ending in victory lane. Scotty Sobczak, the man of the hour. Congratulations. It's Ellis and Chris in the Slingshot booth. You got a copy.
Hell yeah, boys. This is a good one.
Man, it's been a long time coming. Winless this season. It has been like, it's feeling like you've been getting closer and closer in the past several weeks. And tonight, you had speed, but I also think you probably had a little bit of luck, too, in how the race played out there. But you had the car to get to the front, and you made it work. Talk to us a little bit about how this race felt different first half versus second half.
I am grateful for that one tonight.
Man, that 81 had some speed. I know you've been looking to get into victory lane. Do you have any close calls over there throughout the race tonight? Feel like you were close to any of those collisions?
Man, at least that last incident where I was able to get up to the lead, that one I was a little bit nervous because I know that there was guys on 3 different strategies all right around, right? I'm pretty sure you had somebody on 0 tires, you had somebody on 2, and then a couple guys on 4 behind it. And the whole night I was telling, anybody, or I think even, speaking to Chris before the race, you don't want to restart on the outside. And that was the only case where I wanted to start on the outside, was having a couple guys with worse tires in front of me. And that kind of caused some chaos. And it was, I think, the 8th that kind of got just up into Johnny coming out of 4, tagged him just enough. And I could see that out of my left side as they start to kind of climb up the track. And I was just praying that all of a sudden I wasn't going to get turned around. And I don't know how close I was to missing that on my left rear quarter panel, but it was enough. And that's all that counts.
That is all that counts. You missed it, you made it to the front, and you stuck it out there with the final few restarts. Scotty Sobczak, congratulations on that win tonight, man. Any shout-outs? I know you got a crew watching tonight. Who you shouting out before we let you go celebrate this victory?
Yeah, definitely my wife Alex upstairs watching, the whole crew, Baby Junebug, Mr. Figs, Remy, you guys for broadcasting, Sam for doing race control, Pine Mountain Auto Supply for being on the car, and Patrick for helping out too on the chat, being a teammate, win number 2 for Placeholder Racing on the season. So hopefully maybe that puts us a little bit closer for some point standings for teams also. And that's where it's at. We'll go celebrate. Thanks.
Awesome, man. Scotty Sobczak, winner tonight here at Richmond in a thriller. We'll let you go celebrate that victory with the rest of your team. All right, Chris, man, this race had a lot of excitement. It felt like it was going to be just a good race without a whole lot of on-track carnage the first half, but we saw the intensity pick up over the second half, and we had several drivers who kind of worked their way up, then several drivers who kind of worked their way back down after finding each other on the track tonight. Let's go ahead and take a look at the finishing order. We've talked to the top 3 tonight already, but Justin Wilson, this is the big story, Chris. He brings it home 4th. He doesn't get the win like he seems like he's gotten several times in the past few weeks, and this is going to bring him, we believe, within it's going to close the gap to Jacob Bradley by just to 5 points. So we're going to have a 5-point championship race headed into Miami next week. Evan Pienta, good job for him. First top 5 he's had in several weeks. Chris Blassie, man, what a week it's been for Chris Blassie. Last Wednesday, he won his first ever slingshot race in the Super Speedway Fall Classic finale at Daytona, and he backs it up with a 6th place finish here tonight. Johnny Rapp, man, Chris, shout out to Johnny for working his way back up through the field on those fresh tires, despite kind of just some heartbreak there with less than 10 laps to go. Nick Lucci as well. Great run, kind of saving his race after some late race contact. Patrick O'Toole. Shout out to Patrick O'Toole in that 44 car, finishing 9th. He's needed a good finish, and he just kept his car clean all night long. Stayed out of trouble, and great job for Patrick. I know he's going to be happy with that 9th place finish, Chris.
Yeah, sorry about that. Had
you're good.
Audio trouble right there. But yeah, going back to Johnny Rapp, just circling back to him real quick. Unfortunate right there between he and Braxton DeWeese. Just two guys racing really hard for position right there. And unfortunately, both those guys, Johnny got the raw end of the deal on that one. But yeah, shout out to Patrick O'Toole and Sean Johnson, bringing home some good finishes tonight. The chaos there at the end, those guys, they were able to survive it, and they brought home good finishes. Nick Lucci, we saw him involved in a lot of chaos there at the end. We'll be checking on a lot of these drivers at the end of this race, making a trip to the infield care center, making sure they're okay.
Yeah, we definitely saw some carnage. Just looking through the rest of the field, 11th through 20th, Randy Bechtel, man, I felt like he caught every sort of piece of contact and car on the track tonight, but he still brings it home in 11th. James Ledford, shout out for James Ledford. He ran really well in our Super Speedway Fall Classic Series. Comes in here at Richmond to the opposite type of track, a short track. We know him for being a really good Super Speedway racer, but man, he kept his nose clean all night long. Picks up that 12th position finish. Patrick Colby, I know he had his fair share of contact out there tonight, finishes 13th. Chris Pierce led for a while, but Chris, I don't think that no tire strategy was the way to go for the number 65, who's going to finish 14th on the finishing order tonight.
Yeah, coming down the pit road, taking 2 tires earlier, we saw it work better for Chase Berry, and I think it was just circumstantial where Chase was able to keep his position on the bottom. Unfortunately, Chase wound up getting caught up in a crash as well. As his car, I think, was showing the effects of those 2 tires. Just seemed like the cars were maybe just a little bit snappy loose on corner exit with those 2 tires, as Chris Pierce managed to bring home that 14th place finish after that, but he ran better than that all night. Shout out to Paul Thomas, bringing home a 17th place finish tonight, just 1 lap down. We saw him involved in a little bit of chaos out there as well, but he managed to soldier on home and bring home a decent finish tonight.
Yeah, did a really good job finishing in the 17th. Jeremy Gardner, 18th. Kyle Dewey, man, we saw, I think, all of these drivers involved in multiple incidents, many of them not their own fault, just getting caught up in the nature of short track racing. Looking through the rest of the field there, several drivers. Braxton DeWeese, we mentioned him. Wesley Pistol had strong runs going tonight, along with Rye Jones, but again, the victims of circumstance found themselves caught up in wrecks at one point or another over the course of the race. Chris, man, great race tonight, but Homestead is going to be a whole new ball game next week. It's a much bigger track, faster track, and Chris, we think it's going to be a track with multiple lanes next week with iRacing's new update that is supposed to change the conditions of the track to be more realistic and evolve over the course of the race, and tires are going to react differently. Drivers are going to have a week to learn how this new model works, but it is going to bring essentially a wild card factor that we haven't seen all season long into this championship race. And with 5 points, the difference between points leader Justin Wilson and Jacob Bradley, I'm going to have my popcorn ready. So everyone hear me, be ready to hear me chomping on the popcorn and what is going to be maybe the most exciting race of the season. What can we expect at Homestead, Chris?
Well, it's kind of hard for me to predict because we don't really know how it's going to race. We know what iRacing says it's supposed to do, what this new update is going to do, but I don't think anybody's really going to know until we get out there on the track and actually experience it. If it does everything that they say that it's going to do, I think that we could be in for a really good show. There's no track on the service, no oval track that I can think of that's better for multi-groove racing than that one. I'm hoping that we can see cars up next to the wall and cars all the way down there on the yellow line, just to, put on the best show that we can possibly have. And what better fitting track and, better fitting scenario right here than the one that we have, you know, where two drivers, Jacob Bradley and Justin Wilson, are going to battle it out for the championship. You know, at the end of this night, or at the end of this championship season right here, these drivers might look back at just 1 or 2 points. You know, Jacob Bradley got the bonus points for leading the most laps tonight, and the stage points for picking up the you know, first place at the end of the stage. Justin Wilson picked up a point for leading lap, and he also picked up a point for the pole tonight. So you never know where just that 1 or 2 points might come in handy at the end of this thing, as close as it's been all season.
And folks, bring the popcorn, bring the beer and peanuts, as Don Hilbrun says. Next week, same time, same channel, 8:30 Eastern Time for the season finale, the UD Awards Championship race for the Apex Energy Series, the conclusion of a 15-race season, and only 5 points separate first and second. Justin Wilson and Jacob Bradley, they're going to battle it out next week at Homestead. But for tonight from Richmond, everybody, it's been a pleasure. For Slingshot Racing, I'm Ellis Thomas, Chris Smith. Good night from Richmond.